Hello all and welcome to The Big Story, where we discuss the hottest topics of the day right in the heart of the newsroom. I'm Haryanto, coming to you live from the Straits Times. Now we are streaming on Facebook and on YouTube, so remember to comment, share and like our video. While you are at it, subscribe to our channel and hit the bell button to be alerted to our videos. I will have my newsroom colleagues to join me today to talk about the stories that got you talking. Now first up, international beauty retailer Sephora admitted on Monday to a breach of its online users' data affecting customers in Singapore and neighbouring countries. It issued a notice to its online customers stating that the data breach was discovered over the past 2 weeks. Some of these personal information exposed included first and last name, date of birth, email address and encrypted password. No credit card information was accessed. Now to share more, I have tech journalist Haris Baharudin. Welcome, Haris.
Hi.
Now, Haris, although credit card details were not stolen, there are still some concerns. Why is that so?
So, the data that was stolen, especially the data that you mentioned just now, is what is known as personally identifiable information, or PII for short. So, this data essentially is data that binds to you and you can't change. So, hackers or bad actors can essentially use that information to commit identity fraud. They can pretend to be you because they know when your birthday is, what your full name is, or these kind of things which you can't change. And also, aside from that PIIs that were stolen, also, I mean, it's a bit strange, but the what was data that was taken was also data that related to spending and beauty habits. So this is data that included maybe a person's hair care routine, the color of their eyes, the color of their hair. So some people might find this funny, why would people want that? But the danger is that bad actors can actually use this data to actually launch very targeted phishing attacks, known as spear phishing in the community. So what this does is that actually they can pretend to be someone that they are not, to actually get you to click on a malicious link. So for example, let's say they know that you like this hair product, and then they send you an offer, or click here to get this hair product at a cheaper price, and you, being the excited consumer, will click it, and then you might have unknowingly let someone into your system. So there are a series of concerns, even though the credit card details were not leaked.
Certainly, I wonder who would actually want to be me, but hey, right, you'll never know. Now, Singapore-based cybersecurity firm Group IB has found that records of customers are allegedly being peddled on the dark web. More on this, Haris.
So, even though Sephora has said there is no evidence of any misuse of this data, Group IB, which is a leading cybersecurity firm based here in Singapore, found that more than 3 million records from Sephora have been found on the dark web. So the dark web is essentially a special part of the internet which you have to access with a special software in order to get in. And it's over there you can buy illegal things like drugs, weapons. I think recently it made headlines when you said you can actually hire someone to kill. A hitman, correct. So, and this includes data as well. So what Group IB found, they found two databases of records from Sephora. The first database was advertised on two darknet forums on July 6th and July 17th, respectively. So this data was leaked from February, according to the investigations, and it contained more than 500,000 records from Indonesia and Thailand. So these include usernames and encrypted passwords. But also, their investigations found a second, bigger set. This bigger database actually contained 3.2 million records, and it had information such as your customer login details, and also what I mentioned just now, your customers' eye color, skin tone, skin type, hair color, hair concern, these kind of things. So this second set of data was leaked in March this year, according to what they found out. And Group IB actually told us that this set of 3.2 million records was priced at US $1,900. So
certainly a cause of concern.
I mean, for that price, a competitor could get the data and maybe tailor products that would probably sell better. I mean, we don't know what the data could be used for.
And Harry, so what happens now, right? What has Sephora advised the customers to do then following this data breach?
So Sephora has recommended that customers, of course, change the passwords of their accounts, and they've also announced that they have conducted a very thorough review of their security systems, and they are offering a free personal data monitoring service for their customers through a third-party provider. And customers who wish to essentially get on board the system can sign up at a link that they provided. If you check your email, it should be there for all the Sephora customers by, I think, November 30th.
Right.
So they are trying to, I think, soothe the damage a bit. But yeah, it remains to be seen what kind of recourse is available if, let's say, bad actors do get their heads on this data.
So customers of Sephora, again, if you are affected or
please
if
make sure you
just
change
want
your
to check,
passwords.
just make sure that you change your passwords or just contact Sephora as well as to what are the steps to be taken moving forward. Once again, thank you so much, Haris, for coming onto the show to tell us more about this data breach and really what to do next for customers that may or may not be affected. Just to really take that precautionary step as well. Now, for more information on this data breach, you can visit our website at www.straitstimes.com. Now, moving on to world business news, the Federal Reserve yesterday cut its key interest rate by a quarter point for the first time since 2008. Now, Fed Chairman Jerome Powell declared it was just a mid-cycle adjustment, causing the stock market to drop and rates to firm. Now, while it was a widely anticipated move, economists are now confused about what's next following Powell's announcement. To tell us more, I have Associate Editor Vikram Khanna. Welcome, Vikram.
Thank you, Haryanto.
And this is the first time that we are doing TBS together.
Yes, right? That's the first time.
So happy to have you here. Now, Vikram, tell us a bit more, right? What were market expectations before the Fed's announcement?
Well, just to back up a little bit, there had been 9 rate hikes from the end of 2015 up to July, up to this latest Fed move. So that was one thing. The second thing was that the chairman of the Fed, that's Jerome Powell, in the lead up to the rate decision, had put out a lot of somewhat negative news about the prospects. For example, he talked about how inflation was undershooting the target of 2%. He talked about global headwinds in the form of uncertain trade policies. He talked about weak growth in China and Europe. And these began to weigh on people's minds. They came to expect, I think, a resumption of an easing cycle. So that's what they were expecting.
Right. And why did the Fed disappoint the markets?
Well, the Fed put out what you could call a mixed message. Okay. On the one hand, the U.S. economy is doing quite all right. I mean, the growth is so-so. It's not bad. It's about 2.1% in the second quarter. The jobless numbers are, unemployment figures are not bad at all. In fact, unemployment is at a close to 50-year low at 3.7%. And consumer confidence is doing quite all right. It's still holding up. On the other hand, there are some early signs of weakness. The manufacturing sector is not doing that well. Business investment is not doing that well. So that's on the positive side. But on the negative side, you do have inflation undershooting the target. It's 1.6%. The target is 2%. So that's a worry. And I think the Fed chairman is afraid that it could get worse. Inflation could get lower. And then you have trade tensions, which have been ramped up just today, with President Donald Trump tweeting that there's going to be 300 billion worth of tariffs on the remaining Chinese imports. And then you have Europe is in very weak shape. Its economy is in close to deflation. And the European Central Bank has basically said there's going to ease policy further. And Japan is already in negative interest rate territory. And so is Europe, by the way.
And Vikram, are there signals that the Fed is giving about future monetary policy? They're being ambiguous. Why is it so? And of course, what does this mean for investors then?
Right. Is it being ambiguous? Well, yes. And I think it has no choice, actually. Because on the one hand, it's facing domestic tailwinds from the U.S. economy. And on the other hand, it's facing these global headwinds from Europe, from the trade uncertainty, and so on. And so Jerome Powell said, he made it clear that this is not the start of a long easing cycle of rate cuts. But then he added, but I didn't say this is going to be the only one. So that sort of threw people, made people
it's very confusing.
Right? So where do things stand? So I think markets are on kind of tenterhooks. As to where this leaves investors, I think investors are in a bit of a quandary. I mean, on the one hand, the equity markets, at least in the US, are quite frothy still. I mean, the S&P's the PE ratio is about 20, and forward looking is about 18. The bond yields are 2%. They have collapsed, basically. Actually, they're below 2% for the 10-year bonds in the US, the treasuries. And then in Europe, bond yields are negative in many countries. So equities are risky. I mean, you can still go there, but it's a bit of a risk given these headwinds. And you're not going to get much return on bonds. So where do you go? I mean, you could explore emerging markets, but then emerging markets too, like in our region, we are also exposed to the trade war. So we are also, facing headwinds.
Headwinds as well.
Although there is room for emerging market bonds to do well because they are still yielding positive, and there's room for them to do interest rate cuts. So, which would help bond prices.
All right. So, thank you once again, Vikram, for coming onto the show to really share a bit more about the announcement by the Feds. Now, of course, it is a very heavy topic, but you've managed to, simplify it, make us understand a bit better of the situation. Again, these are still in its nascent stages, the announcements and all that. We still don't know what's going to happen. So just make sure that you keep track of the news on our website at straitstimes.com. Once again, thank you so much, Vikram, for coming on to the show.
Thank you, Arianto. It's a pleasure.
Now, moving on to our third segment. I see a lot of you are commenting TGIF. Yes, finally, the weekend is here. Now, if you're looking for something to do, why not head over to the Bicentennial Experience exhibition at the Fort Canning Centre. Now, divided into 5 acts spread over 2 levels of the centre, the hour-long installation uses theatrical staging, theme park mechanics, and multimedia projections to immerse visitors in a brisk recap of Singapore's history. Now, one of my colleagues, senior culture correspondent Ong Sofen, checked it out and wrote a review on it, and I am very fortunate to have here with me today. Welcome, Sofen.
Thank you so much.
And this is the first time as well we are doing TBS together. Wow, 2 first-timers with me right here. Now, Sofen, briefly, if you can tell us, what is this Bicentennial Experience exhibition all about?
Okay, it's called the Bicentennial, but actually the narrative that it tells reaches back over 1,000 years to when climate change led to the rise of port cities in Southeast Asia. And of course, Singapore is one of those port cities. So I can tell that the creators have actually read a lot because I think we probably read the same books. I read about 15 books to do this guide to what to read for the Bicentennial. So basically, the creators have given people a very easy, very fun, digestible pop history of Singapore going back 1,000 years. So the creators are Beatrice Chia Richmond and Michael Chiang. So they are theatre veterans, so they're very good at staging a mise-en-scene. So like for Act 1, it's very action-packed. There's like battle sequences and naval battles. So it's actually quite a fun way to absorb a lot of history in a very short span of time.
And so far I understand that because it's an hour installation, of course, there's so much details that you could share in your article, but of course, you've got to pick the really good ones, and there's some that were left out. Tell us more about those details that you left out in your article.
Some of the details that I left out was this outdoor part of the exhibition. It's called the Pathfinder section. So they have these little pavilions in Fort Canning Park. And there's a seed conservatory, there's one that has got reproductions of artifacts. And there's a very nice book pavilion that's run by the National Library Board. And you can read more history books if you're interested to find out more. And then, of course, it wouldn't be Singapore if you didn't have food. There's a food pavilion.
That is true.
So there's a food pavilion where you can get things like dim sum and char kway teow. I highly recommend the kaya toast. It's fried in butter.
Wow.
So it's super crispy and very nice.
But of course, all that, people are all excited. And we were discussing this earlier on as well before the show. And you mentioned that the ushers, they were a little too enthusiastic. Very enthused, yeah?
Yes, they're very enthusiastic. But I think they could dial it down a little bit because I felt that like this kindergarten kid being like issued non-stop instructions. Move from here to here. They're very well-intentioned because I think I do understand that they need to warn people because there are certain sections that are dark, there are certain sections with strobe lights. Then if you get motion sickness, you shouldn't sit in the first two rows of like the rotating platform because it might cause you to throw up.
Understand. And so often, the exhibition runs till 15th September.
Yes.
That is next month. I have to ask you this. Is it worth going? It's free, right?
Yes,
but is it still worth going?
It's free. You have to register for tickets and it is worth going. And I actually think that they should keep it as a permanent installation because you can tell that they spend a lot of time and effort creating this. They built like a rotating platform. One of the rooms has got this rain effect. So you carry an umbrella in and it rains on you.
Oh.
Yes.
Literally?
Literally, there's rain coming down from the ceiling.
So there is a chance that you can get wet, but all in the name
They give you an umbrella.
Okay. Okay.
So they obviously invested a lot of effort. And I think it's actually a very good use of the venue because Fort Canning Centre has struggled to find a purpose. After all the local groups left, it was occupied by the Singapore Pinacothèque de Paris, which is this art museum, that closed after barely a year. So it has to be a destination venue. And I think the Bicentennial Experience is a very good, it makes for a very good destination venue.
So there you have it, Sophan, our senior culture correspondent, giving her stamp of approval, right, for this Bicentennial Experience exhibition. It is running all the way till 15th September. It is free entrance. All you have to do is just register. Now, if for more details on the registration and on the experience itself, you can visit our website at www.straitstimes.com. Once again, thank you so much, Sophan, for coming to the show to tell us more about this. Now, earlier on, we had tech journalist Haris, who shared a bit more about the Sephora's data breach and really what customers can do now that the breach has happened, and just to make sure that to keep their information safe. And then we spoke to Vikram. We went on to World Business News, where Vikram talked about the Fed cutting the interest rate. And of course, we have our senior culture correspondent, Sophan, to share with us a bit more about the Bicentennial exhibition that is happening till to the 15th of September. So there we have it, top stories of the day. For more news and videos, do log on to our website at www.straitstimes.com. It is the weekend once again. Happy TGIF. Have a great weekend. And for more, do visit us again on Monday, same time. Once again, I'm Haryanto. Same time on Monday. Goodbye and see you then.